A lot of news going on each week, and we try to isolate those news segments that have an impact on the Black community. Well, this week we have 4. One, Target CEO has met with Al Sharpton to try to resolve this boycott that has absolutely paralyzed Target. The next topic, a country in Africa named Namibia has told Americans, if you don't have a visa, self-deport. The next one is Shannon Sharpe, and our last topic will be about Sinners, the movie. So let's go with Target. Yes, we had a 40-day boycott of Target, and several ministers, to include Jamal Bryant, are pushing for a year-round boycott of Target. Now, my thought is, even if the CEO has met with Al Sharpton, I think that's more of a false start, in that I would need to know if Target can maintain consistency in restoring its DEI policy. What do you guys think?
I'm just wondering, like, why and how did Target become the symbol of anti-DEI efforts? There's so many other Targets, and so I'm curious about that. I'm curious why they chose to meet with Sharpton.
Good question.
So it's
But who else would they meet with?
I don't know. I guess Jamal Bryant, right? But I
think the reason why they targeted Target was because so many Black vendors were on their shelves. And when they started removing these vendors off the shelf and putting in non-Black vendors, that completely destroyed any confidence, I'm going to say me as a consumer and others, in Target's seriousness in supporting DEI causes.
So did they remove it? Because I'm probably behind on this, but I know when they changed the DEI policy, it was basically about hiring. I didn't.
A lot of the vendors were removed off the
so
shelf.
So they started removing Black vendors in addition.
Because they started taking, because they had some pretty nice shelf space, but they started replacing those shelf spaces with, in some cases, white vendors.
My take on it is that the reason why it's Target is because when Trump came in and said what he was going to do, they were one of the first who came out and said they were going to support the DEI, excluding DEI, which is why, and of course, Walmart and other folks came in behind them, but I think they were one of the first.
Now, Walmart is slick. I have gone to Walmart to buy certain products that I had to get, but I walked past the spice section, and lo and behold, Tabitha Brown, her spices are still on the shelf, and these are vegan-based spices. So I thought that was interesting that Walmart says they're not going to support DEI initiatives, but they do have, it looks like, vendors quietly on the shelf. So that caught my attention. But Target, they just messed up. And the thing about this boycott, it proved one thing and one thing only, that we have the power, dollar-wise, to turn a company totally around on their profit goals.
Agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, but there's some other Targets. We should have done this a long time ago with Hobby Lobby. We should have done it with Chick-fil-A. There are a lot of establishments that have proven themselves to be anti-Black. And so I'm not going to use the acronym, but that have proven themselves to be really anti-Black. And so I think I'm just curious as, how did Target become the big target or symbol for this movement?
And I agree with you on that.
Hell, the entire state of Florida, should have been boycotted. Those are, I guess, my general thoughts on that.
Okay, so let's go ahead and slide over to your knowledge base, Namibia. And the president of Namibia, who is a woman, told Americans no visa, you have to go. So what are your thoughts about them, about that policy
No, I mean what it is. It's
in response to Trump?
It's multiple countries that have done this. So I guess it's kind of what they call a visa equalization policy. So if you require us to have visas to come to your country, we're gonna require you to have visas to come to ours. So it's multiple countries that have done this. All over the planet now.
Before you go further, can you help me to understand what it means to have a visa? Why do I need a visa for some countries and some countries I don't need a visa? And what does it mean having a visa?
A visa is actually allows you into the country.
Okay.
And so without a visa, they don't allow you into the country. So you apply for a visa, you fill out a questionnaire. Some countries will actually do a background check and run a criminal history check, and so in order to allow you into their countries. Certain countries you have to fill out a family history. They want to know if you have Muslims in your family or in your background. India is one of them. They ask you a few generations back, do you have any Muslims in your family? So they want you to fill out a visa in order to allow you entrance into the country. Some countries make it simple. You have to do an e-visa. You can do it online, e-visa. Some countries allow same-day visa. When you arrive, you can fill out a visa form. But it's a lot of countries that United States also did it, where they are restricting visas or making them a lot more difficult. They've denied wholesale visas to probably the most African countries now, are denied. You can't get a visa if you're from certain African countries. So a lot of African countries are reciprocating. A lot of countries around the world are reciprocating.
Now, what I like about Africa in particular is that I am for the visas, okay? But what was happening was a lot of people were going into those various countries, not necessarily as tourists, but to help try to gain more resources to ship back. So now that the fact that a lot of these African countries are understanding the real intent of these foreigners coming to the country, hopefully they'll be able to track them and make sure that Africa retains as much of the resources as they can.
I think something that Caleb has advocated for a long time is we're beginning to see a slow process in turning towards African countries, the continent of Africa, and all the countries that are contained in it to begin to turn to a way of being more self-supportive. And they're asking for people to come who can help them to do that as well. All the countries aren't equal. There's some who are doing better jobs than others, but I believe we're turning a corner towards what we've been wanting to see for a long time with the African countries.
That reminds me. This is off topic. So, but if you permit me, so that the black general, the black Marine Corps general who's in charge of Africa Command. So he came out with a statement. He testified before Congress the other day and said President Ibrahim Traore was he was using his country's resources for his security.
And who's Abraham Traore?
He's the president of Burkina Faso.
Okay.
So here's this black general who came out with this statement saying that Abraham Traore is not a good guy and he's using his country's resources for his protection. He has to use them for his protection because you people keep trying to kill him. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And so he's the president of his country. And so, yeah, that's a legitimate use of his country's resources is for his protection. You know what I mean? But it's this general, I was happy to see that he had risen. He's a 4-star general, United States Marine Corps. I was so proud of him. And I was like, yes, you know what I mean? One of us. But it's always one of us that they use to kill one of us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so this I'm highly disappointed. And when I took a look at him, I'll tell you something else I took a look at. Tell you something else I took. So I want to read. He's 4-star general, charge of Africa Command.
Is he black?
He's black.
Okay.
They haven't removed him yet?
Not yet. There's a 4-star general who's in charge of U.S. Southern Command. Right? These are major combatant commands. Then there was a 4-star general who was the Joint Chief, Chairman of Joint Chiefs. And then, of course, you had the Secretary of Defense was a black man. These are 4 black men. Mm-hmm. Then you had the 2 women. One was a woman who was in charge of the Navy. The other was a woman who was in charge of the Coast Guard. So when you look at the command structure, you see it was full of black men, black women, white women.
So was the Southern Command black as well?
He's black man. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's based here,
So
right?
yeah, it was based in Florida, United States Southern Command.
I thought it was based here.
It was a major combatant command. So when I started looking at all the faces of all these people who were in charge of the military, no wonder they went crazy and came in here and would start firing black men and black women, because it was mostly black men and black women who had risen to the top of these positions. But I digress. We'll go ahead with hot topics.
Now they had to unretire one.
Yeah, now they had to unretire an unqualified white man to help get rid of the qualified black folks. But no, that when I went back and started looking at all the generals and admirals and people who were in charge of these combatant commands, they were black men, white women, black women who were in charge of these commands. And I tell you, they fired the 3-star general, the sister who was in charge of the naval command.
Right.
It was filled with black folks who had risen through the ranks of the military. So
Okay.
They came in and got, you know what I mean?
It's time to go.
Yeah, y'all got to go.
All right, our next topic is an interesting one. You know, Monique told Shannon Sharpe, get you an older woman. Get you a woman that can rub your feet, cook for you and stuff like that. Leave them little 18, 19, 20, 30-year-olds alone. White girls.
That's the problem.
And so here is Shannon Sharpe, 56 years old. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess he thought that he could stand up to time, because this little 19-year-old, probably 23 by now, fans only, I don't even want site owner. I don't want to call her a star. Well, there she is. She's about to take him to the cleaners. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to say, I'm all for this. I am all for this, because somewhere, come on, brothers, especially you old jokers who have money, get you a black woman.
Yeah.
She is black.
No, that chick she's
black.
She's a Becky trying to
She's black. She's light skinned, but she's black.
Mm-mm. No, I don't think so.
Well,
I think her lips are chemically infused and stuff like that.
Well, black folks can have lips chemically
infused. I don't think, anyway.
I mean, there's some black people who may even look white who may want to have their lips infused, okay? So, look, let me say this. This is where I'm at. I didn't know much about this topic at all, okay?
So why are you talking about it?
Because now I've studied it, okay?
Okay.
And I don't believe that Shannon Sharpe is guilty. This lady worked with him on the show, okay?
There she goes, right there.
And she has said that she was having sex with Shannon Sharpe.
She's a Becky.
And when she was having sex with Shannon Sharpe, one of the other people who were working behind the scenes asked her, this ain't appropriate. What do you intend to do? And her comment was, I got him on a short leash. If he says anything, I'll what?
See, this is the whole thing. Shannon Sharpe has been around that son 56 times.
Okay.
Brothers, we already know the history of the Beckys and brothers, and the lies are being told. A lie burned that had Black Wall Street burned down. Rosewood got burned down behind a Becky. We've got brothers in the contemporary times whose careers have been destroyed by Becky. Okay, she could be biracial, she could be something, but she's not a 100% black woman as far as I'm concerned, right?
Are you 100% black?
Yes.
Okay, well, you kind of like too.
Oh.
All I know is my ancestry said I was 95% black. So
it's kind of where you going with this. But the whole thing is, brothers, especially you older ones, at what point in your life do you settle down?
You don't.
It's what I'm thinking about there's a club here in town. I don't know where these jokers are still alive. The two old pimps at Midtown. You will sit on the back in the corner, and every time I went there, and I haven't gone there in a long, long time, so I don't know whether they're still there or alive. Okay,
Okay.
but they were in that back corner trying to live the life, and these children were old pimps, right?
Hey, I was there, and everybody in the parking lot had handicap tags.
Shannon too damn old though. He's too old for this.
And and he's making too much money. He lost out probably on that $100 million deal.
He lost $100 million. He don't need that $100 million.
Because he has no control over his bodily functions.
And then they said, I think he said he resigned from ESPN, his position at ESPN.
He messed up.
He
should have listened. I need to contact Monique. We need to get her on the show. Monique, what do you think?
He's going to end up paying because she didn't take the $10 million because she wants 50. So he's calling it a shakedown.
It probably is.
It definitely is. I mean, from what I've read.
Yeah, but you set yourself up for it. You open yourself up for a shakedown. Leave that little young girl alone.
And now she's asking
Viagra and hymns and all the commercials they be putting on.
And now she's asking for $100 million.
Is she asking for $100 million?
I mean, that number is going up. It's kind of like, Shannon, you effed up. Come on. To my brothers, I love you guys, okay? But you can't keep this up. You can't keep this up. It's kind of like.
And let me just say, the P word ain't worth $100 million. It ain't worth $100 million, fellas. What? Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not looking at you like anything. Okay. I'm just looking at you.
It ain't worth $100 million.
No. They said, $40.
So
especially when it's down here.
$40.
So that's my thoughts on Shannon Sharpe. He messed up. He messed up, and he messed up financially and career-wise, dealing with these young. Okay, they may look like they black. I don't think she's black women. He started messing with her at 19.
Somebody told me there was a black cowboy who had a baby with a chick, and he paid her all up front for 18 years, as much, and said, I don't ever want to see her or the baby. Here's the money. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is, but I know who you're talking about.
I know who you're talking about. Smart move. I mean, hell, because his earning potential could change. His earning potential could go up. You know what I mean? So let me get this out of the way right now. Don't tell her nothing else, so she won't go back and ask for nothing else. But no, I mean, let me, you know what? Because they're gonna come after me for saying that. But you know what? No, you make the kid, you should be in the kid's life. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
Let me go back.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah. But I still say Shannon Sharpe's innocent.
I think Shannon, he offered a $10 million. You don't offer nobody $10 million if you innocent.
Michael Jackson did.
Well, what that tell you?
So you believe if you offer money, that's an indication of
yeah. I think if you
admission of guilt.
I'm not finna offer nobody money for nothing I ain't do. I'm not.
So even if you don't do it, and she comes back and says,
I did do it.
I want 50 million instead of the 10 million. You didn't offer it to her because you felt you were innocent. Okay. And now you're going to put your faith in a jury. Okay. And a jury may say, yeah, you guilty. And instead of 50 million, we're going to give her 100 million.
First of all, I'm not going to set myself up for failure like that. That's first of all. But I mean, if it was consensual, right? Dude, you worth all this money, right? What's wrong with, look here, man? Hey, this is a consensual relationship. And we're going to be in this relationship. You like me, I like you, whatever. You know who I am. That's why you here in this room. You know who I am. Sign this saying that this is consensual. Just, people do it all the time, but they sign prenups all the time.
So sign a consensual?
Sign an agreement saying this is consensual.
So from now on, I need to before we do the
Carry,
do.
carry it with you.
Before we do the do,
This is
you said
consensual.
you gotta sign it.
In this day and age, if you worth what Shannon Sharpe is worth,
Wordsworth.
or what? Yeah,
Oh well,
yeah.
since I ain't worth what he's worth, I don't have to have
Next
no.
time you need to it's going to sign this here.
Right.
We're gonna have fun. We're gonna go to the Bahamas. We're gonna go to Virgin. We're gonna go all over. We're gonna have some fun. But look, y'all, I'm just need you to sign this saying this consensual.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna
Okay.
spend my money, but we're gonna spend it when I want to spend it, how I want to spend it. I'm not gonna give you 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. No.
Okay.
All right. All righty. The next topic, sinners. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm just going to say it. Just come out and say it. This was an outstanding, an amazing cinematic work of art by Ryan Coogler.
Are you giving us a spoiler alert?
I'm not going to give as much information. I'm going to try not to give a spoiler alert.
Okay.
Hey, it's been out for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So at this point in time, you put in your risk. You know, you're at risk now, okay?
Okay.
I went to go see the movie last night. Got home at midnight. I would want to see this movie. And this was the most spiritual movie that I have ever seen that focused on the Black experience. The spirituality piece involved really the spirituality associated with juke joints. Then the spirituality of Anne, who was one of the main characters' wife, and her connection to hoodoo. The next one was the spirituality of the Choctaw Indian tribe. The spirituality of the music, in particularly blues. The spirituality associated with the Ku Klux Klan, and then the spirituality associated with white supremacy and the need for this be in close proximity to whiteness. It was a powerful movie. I mean, you know, you've got Michael B. Jordan playing two roles. The characters' names were Elijah and Elias. Elijah being his nickname was Smoke. Elias being Stack. And they wore a blue hat and a red hat. In my opinion, the red hat was symbolic of somebody, even though both of these young men were rascals in their life. But Smoke had a more redeeming-like character to where he was somewhat angelic, hence the blue hat. And then his brother, Elias, a.k.a. Stack, he was a little rascal. I mean, he said he wanted the money, he wanted the women, you know, he wanted all the temptations of life. So he had to wear that red hat representing sin, going to hell. But I really did like this movie, and I recommend it to everybody. There's so many nuggets in this movie. There's so many nuggets. But I will tell you this. Now, I'm not going to lie now. Back in the day, I hung out in some juke joints. And there is a certain spirituality in those places that we don't see today. It's kind of, where are they on the map? You know, where are they on the map? You know, we go to clubs, we go to concerts, but it was a certain ideal of the juke joint to where no matter what your economic status was, you would go there to let it all hang out and you would commune with everybody in the room. But I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to give the spoiler, you need to be awake when you see that musical sequence. When my man played that guitar, and he awakened all of the spirits of the past to the future. What did you see?
I too went to see it yesterday, and I thought it was a good movie. First of all, I would like to say I think it was a good movie. But more importantly is I would like for each of you to, number one, subscribe to this network and put your comments in our
Comment box.
in the chat, because I would like to know exactly what you feel. okay, and the different things. This is the type of movie to me that requires discussion and other people to talk about what it was that they saw and what they got from the particular movie. I was trying to talk to Caleb earlier about it, and he said, "Well, what's the movie about?" And I said, "Man, I can't really tell you. Not because I don't want to, but because I mean, there were so many things that were in it. I just think that you need to look at it, and some people will interpret some things some way, and others will interpret it a different way. And I would love to hear your comments as to what you feel about it."
Also, one other spirituality piece was the spirituality of Christianity in the movie. But again, this musical sequence, I've never seen anything like this before. Never seen anything like this. Well, this man played this guitar so hard that he busted through the portal and pulled down the musical geniuses of the past and the musical geniuses of the future, and they all came together to the point where they literally burned down the juke joint where these people are dancing, and these three vampires who were white were out there looking at this and look at here, look at here, look at here. And the white supremacist piece, the discussions we've always had was these vampires wanted what was in there, to me, which was symbolic of them wanting our culture. No matter what it looked like, they wanted access to that culture. They wanted to be invited into the culture, take the culture. And we argue this today, that white folks take our culture. There is an Asian woman in the movie, and it's kind of like, well, why is this Asian woman in the movie? So I had to kind of think about it, and to me, it was symbolic of the Asians community moving into our community to make money. And at the end, because of their proximity or the need to be close to whiteness, eventually at the end of the movie where the big showdown took place, she told the vampires, "Y'all welcome to come on in, vampires." And that's kind of like what we see today in our community.
There was also the lady who was black but was very light skinned.
Oh yeah, the one passing.
Yeah, and so
Mary.
when Preacher Boy came up and to tell Stack, he said, "There's some white girl over there staring at you," and he turns around, looks at her, he says, "She ain't white." Okay, and he goes over and talks to her. So I think that's a whole different thing as well, and you'll see how that, those of you who see the movie, you'll see how that progresses as well.
And you see how she's struggling, trying to figure out where she fits in this dual world that she was born in. You know, part black, part white, can pass 50 times over. And then you need to make sure you stay to the very, very, I'm talking about to where the lights come up in the theater. Stay in that theater. Don't leave the seat.
After the comment.
Yeah, because
after the credits.
There's another short video there that you need to see, and how what happened in the past carries over into the future.
Which means now.
Now.
Yeah, and that's all the way after the credits. So you got to sit through the credits and see the other little movie piece, the trailer, not trailer, but it's just a little movie piece about the future.
So overall, I'm thinking that the story was our story on how we not only have to deal with the evils of, and this was set in Jim Crow, Mississippi, how we have to deal with the evil associated with the Ku Klux Klan, but we're also dealing with the evil of unknown sources that impact our lives on a continual basis. That's my overall assessment of the movie. But Ryan Coogler, I got mad props for you. I thought he did a phenomenal job with Black Panthers, but this one tops Black Panthers.
Wow. Okay.
This one tops Black Panthers.
Y'all convinced me, though.
You gonna go?
I'm gonna go. So when I first heard the premise, it's vampires in Jim Crow South, and so I was like, I don't know, but you guys have convinced me.
No, it's and just take it out and don't look at it from that perspective, okay? because yes, there's vampires, but I thought it was a slick way of him how to address white supremacy.
Okay. All right.
You know,
Because even the white people, they came back and they said when they saw the light skinned, girl who was in the juke joint,
So
and they said, well, how she get? Because he said, why don't y'all go back with your own folks? And they said, well, how she get in? And the girl said, she's family. Okay.
All right.
so it's worth it. It's worth every piece. You can easily,
I went to the matinee, y'all.
yeah, everything was spiritual in this movie. I'm not gonna say even the sex scenes were spiritual. They had a certain meaning about it. So, guys, anything else you want to say?
Nope.
We're not going to talk about Trump today?
Nope.
Nope. All righty then. With that being said, this is Contemporary Black Voices Hot Topic section, and we want to say one thing to you. This is Contemporary Black Voices, where we tell our story our way.
Look, let's do this.
Okay, I'm going to see that movie again.
For the title of